Happily ever after. It's real, folks. How to live a fairy tale life. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. This is the new Cosmic Knowledge channel where we take you places you've never gone before and open you up to ideas and vistas of information that perhaps you've never heard before. And if there's anything the world needs now, it's love, sweet love, right? If there's anything the world needs now is the ability to live fairy tale lives. And I'm here today to tell you that happily ever after is real. And I'm here today to share with you my strategies that have proven successful for me and strategies that have proven successful for Sandra D in living a life that is happily ever after. And I'm here today to tell you some very good things. Number one, there is a repeatable, duplicatable pattern and process for living happily ever after. It can be duplicated by anyone who's willing to apply it, and I'll go out on a limb and say it works every time it's tried. So let's talk about happily ever after. It's real. Let's talk about how to live a fairy tale life. Well, we've all seen the fairy tales. We've all read the fairy tales. And some of us have believed them. Some of us have hated them. Not all of us have lived them, but I am now. And I want to share with you a repeatable, duplicatable strategy that I think can help you to learn how to do it as well. And I got notes. That's how serious I am. I got notes. So I know that happily ever after comes in a story. I know that happily ever after comes in a movie, but real happily ever after, if you want the and they lived happily ever after, and let me just give you a preface. Not all of you know me, and I'm hoping that some people that don't normally listen to me might listen to this program. But about a year ago, I happened across a young lady, and at that time, the young lady was involved in a committed relationship, and that young lady's integrity was absolutely unimpeachable, absolutely, completely, total, and true. Her integrity was rock solid, and I knew it, so I didn't push it. Oh, maybe 5 months after that, we had occasion. I was doing a meeting somewhere. She showed up. We had occasion to meet each other physically. And I had known the whole time from the first time I saw her, I actually gasped that first time I saw her about a year ago, because I knew that she was the one. I had come to find out she's a twin flame, soul flame, whatever you want to call it, but she's that. And she was still in a committed relationship, but I did let her know at the conclusion of that meeting, which included no physical contact of any point because her integrity was still unimpeachable. I just said, if anything ever changes for you, you know where to find me. Several months later, she did. I did, Katha. Several months later, she did. And now here we are, living happily ever after, about to move in together on August 1st. So I just wanted to give you the baseline for me knowing what I'm talking about, because let's face it, who wants to listen to somebody prattle about something which they've not themselves experienced? So I know the fairy tale mythos, I know the fairy tale stories, I know how it goes, but I also know that in reality, fairy tales are written by other people, but if you want to write your own fairy tale life, you've got to write your own story. Brad says, Jeff, you seem much more happy, level, serene, and now compared to your videos a good while back. I think that's true. It has to do mainly with Sandra. mainly with maturing and mainly with meditation, which Sandra is my meditation teacher. So yeah, all the credit for any good that we're doing in this work, whether in life together or in this work together. And Sandra is my partner in life and in this work. All the credit goes to her and all the blame goes to me. So if you don't like something, I guarantee it's my fault. If you really like something, I guarantee you it's coming from her. And I feel that way as well. I really do. But you have to write your own story. You've got to write your own fairy tale. And if you think about it, think about all the fairy tales that you've heard, all the fairy tales you've read, all the fairy tales you've seen. Deb Starr likes watching me change. Well, thank you. I like feeling me change. I like living me changing. But all of the fairy tales follow a pattern. And I find that very, very encouraging. The fact that fairy tales, that happily ever after follows a pattern, means that there is a pattern. And like the movie, I forget what it's called, with Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin with the bear. I forget what that movie's called. It's called The Edge, I think. And Anthony Hopkins makes this statement. He says, what one man can do, another can do. And that's so true. If there's a pattern, then it is repeatable. If there's a pattern, it is duplicatable. Thank you, Lit T. And good to see you back. I know that you're going through your own business. And I'm here to tell you that there is a pattern, there is a plan, and it is duplicatable and repeatable. I turn to the back of my notes. Number one, you got to write your own story. And number two, you've got to realize that the beginning of every fairy tale finds the hero or the heroine, and I don't mean that kind of heroine, I mean heroine, the female hero, finds them in desperate circumstances. Where was Cinderella at the beginning of that movie? Where was Snow White at the beginning of that movie, right? Or somewhere during the movie, they come into desperate circumstances. Okay, let's back up. Usually in a fairy tale, you start out, everything's pretty good, right? And then you go into a desperate situation. Whether your name's Cinderella, or whether your name is Snow White, or whether your name is Sleeping Beauty, or whether your name is Prince Charming, right? King Arthur, you get into a pickle. So the first thing is to realize that you are divine, you are sovereign, and you are free. The second thing is to realize that you're divine, you're sovereign, and you're free, but you're still walking around in one of these. So you've got to realize your lack. You've got to realize your need. You've got to realize that you can't have happily ever after until you've worked for happily ever after. You're not built with happily ever after inside. You're built with the mistaken thought that you're filled with original sin. You're built with the mistaken thought that you're less than. You're built with the mistaken thought that there's something wrong with you. And you have to go inside, and Sandra has told me this, it's a law of manifestation, she says. You have to clear things out before you can bring in more. So the first thing you have to do is go inside and do your inner work. You've got to realize, I need work. You got to realize, I need help. In my life, it was curled up in the fetal position on a condo overlooking Waikiki on Kapolani Boulevard in Honolulu, Hawaii. Not many people have spiritual crises there, but I came to one. And that was the day my life changed. Sandra, interestingly, curled up in the fetal position at a condo somewhere up in Massachusetts, coming to a catharsis and saying, wow, I've got some lack. I need to change. And if you notice in fairy tales, it doesn't always happen like that. And in life, it doesn't always happen like that. Sometimes it's a total overhaul, Lit T. Sometimes if you're, I think Cinderella, you got to wash a lot of floors. You got to sweep a lot of floors. You got to do a lot of work for your wicked stepsisters and all that stuff. Sandra knows all about being brave, and she can teach you about being brave. It doesn't happen overnight. And a lot of people can start and realize, yeah, I need help. Yeah, I need to do some work. But not everybody can do it consistently and long enough to realize its conclusion. Julia makes a good statement. She says, from the far reaches of the country to find each other in Florida. Wow. Sandra's from Massachusetts. She didn't get to Florida until a few years ago, and she was about to leave Florida, but circumstances prevented it. I am from Florida, about 250 miles away from her, but I've been in Germany, Belgium, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, California, Las Vegas, all over the place. But when the time was right, I came back to Florida and things began to work. So yes, you have to be open, you have to be willing, and you have to do the work, but you've got to complete the work. And let's face it, the work's never really completed, but you keep chugging and you keep chugging and you keep chugging and you keep chugging and you keep chugging. And I guarantee you, it's work. It's like the book of Job in the Bible. A lot of people think it's job. That's why they don't read it, because they don't want any work. But it's tough. It's hard. When I realized that in all of my failed relationships, I had a 16-year marriage to my credit. And then a series, 3 years of just one explosion after another. I realized the only common denominator in all of these relationships is me. And then I realized I had other stuff to do. And then I realized I had other stuff to do. And even today, I realized I have more stuff to do, but I've kept at the work. Boom, 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 boom. I haven't fainted. I haven't failed. I haven't stopped. I've pressed on. Sandra, 3 years sober on June 5th. Congratulations, sweetheart. You did it. You're an example of doing the work consistently, doing the work every single day, and you are an example of full liberation. You're an example that every one of us can follow. And I thank you and respect you for that. And in fact, not only do you have to realize that you need work, not only do you have to do the work, not only do you have to keep doing the work, but most times you have to come to the point where you realize that you can't do it all yourself. Congratulations to Katha O'Hara, sober since 1997. Please subscribe to Sandra D'Angelo's channel. Little premature there, Deb Star. Please subscribe to Sandra D'Angelo's channel. Let me give you a quick look at that real fast. Let's just give you a quick look at Sandra D'Angelo's channel, because she is a big part of this story that we're talking about. So it's only proper that we show you her channel. And part of this, Sandra D'Angelo YouTube, part of this, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that Sandra has some instruction on her channel that'll help you get yourself free from relationships that don't serve you, because you can't serve yourself while you're busy being dominated by someone else. So this is Sandra D'Angelo's channel. This is my sweetheart, my partner in both this work and life. And I recommend that you go to her channel and subscribe right now. And I recommend that you do two things. I think all of these videos are fantastic, no doubt about it. But no, I think all of these videos are fantastic. And I think that this one should be watched by everyone that has
welcome back to Raw Reflections,
a child in their life.
Thanks so much for tuning in today.
It's called Empower Our Children.
One little story with you, fun and profound.
And if we watch this, and if we apply this, it will change the world in a single generation. So watch this one, Empower Our Children. Also, and this is about her daughter, Sophia. And no, I'm not Sophia's father. I don't want to be. Sophia has a father. And I'm just honored to be her friend. And watch this series, Empaths and Narcissists.
Hello, everybody.
You got to watch this series, Empaths and Narcissists. It's got 1, the who's and what's. It's got 2, the traits of these types of personalities. And number 3, solution, full liberation. If you've had any of this type of situation in your life, you've got to watch these 3 programs. They are absolutely powerful. She's got a playlist down here. Her energy series is outstanding. But anyway, that's Sandra D'Angelo, my sweetheart. And I'm telling you, that's where you want to go. Her videos are amazing. Where was I? You've got to do the work. You've got to do it yourself, and you've got to do all you can. I know Sandra came to the place, and she'll tell you that I helped her. I don't know if I did, and if I did, I'm grateful to be able to have helped her. But sometimes you get to the place where every time, let me retract that, every time you get to the place where you can't do it on your own, you've done all you can do. You've done all you can do. And then and only then, you've earned the right to call out for divine help. And then and only then, will the divine listen to you and send you help? Do the work, do all the work, do the work aggressively, do the work with everything that's in you, do the work until you can't do it anymore. And that's the key. You've got to realize, I can't do this alone. If you want to have a happily ever after life and relationship, you've got to get to the place where you do all you can, and you do all you can. And then you realize, I can't do this all by myself. And then the divine will send you the assistance, or they will provide the assistance. Sandra will tell you, and again, you can donate to Sandra D'Angelo's channel by going to her email, to her PayPal, which is associated with, I'm trying to remember which email it's associated with. Let me double check. It's associated with and you can always go use the donate button on my channel, and I'll direct it to Sandra. But Sandra's email through PayPal is sdee77@msn.com. sdee77@msn.com. sdee77@gmail.com. And you can go to PayPal, say you want to send money to that PayPal address, and they will make sure that Sandra gets it. Or you can just go to my website, which is jeffreydarty.com. Use the donate button there and just state that it's for Sandra. And we can take care of that. I'll make sure that she gets it. But if you're going to just give a donation, and thanks for that, get some training from her. Great meditation teacher. Great spiritual coach. There you go. So Sandra will tell you that she got to the place where the divine brought me into her life to help her go through and come into full liberation. I don't know if that's true, but I'm honored that she thinks that. And I've certainly done my very best to support her. And that's what you want. You want someone that will support you, not someone that will do the work for you. Because remember, you got to do it yourself. But sometimes, and that's the key, you've got to get to the end of self. You got to realize, I can't do this alone. You can't have a happily ever after life until you realize that you've come to the end of your own limitations. It's not through my phone number, John Glenn. Just go to the easiest thing is go to my website and hit the donate button. There's one on the front, or you can hit the MYSTECH logo, and there's a donate button there as well. But until you get to the point where you realize, until you get to the end of yourself, you cannot find happily ever after. It's impossible. You've got to get to the end of yourself. You've got to realize that you need help. And I recommend that you seek the divine for that help. And they will send it if you've done all you can do. They will not send it until you've done all you can do. So don't give up, but you've got to push yourself to the limits. Do you really think that living happily ever after is going to be easy? Was it easy for Cinderella? Was it easy for Snow White? Was it easy for any of those people in the movies that I haven't seen? No, it wasn't easy for any of them. It wasn't easy for Belle. I watched that, what's that one called on TV, Ever After? Is that the series with all? It's not easy for them, right? And I got to tell you this. There's always going to be a wicked witch. There's always going to be an evil stepmother. There's always going to be an ogre. There's always going to be a wicked stepfather, wicked king. There's always going to be opposition. I had opposition in my life. Sandra has had opposition in her life. And it often coalesces around a single figure. And it often ties back to the psychopath, narcissist, empath, highly sensitive person paradigm. So don't think that it's going to be easy, and don't think that it's not going to be without opposition. But if you're willing to do the work till you get to the end of yourself and know that you can't do it yourself, and ask for help in divinity and accept and receive and move in help from divinity, realizing there's always going to be a witch, an evil stepmother, an ogre, something like that, face them down. Then, having done all that you've done, there's a scripture that just popped into my mind. I think the master said it. He said, and having done all, stand. And having done all, stand. Let me look that up. I think it's powerful. It's Saturday afternoon. It's rainy. We're just talking with each other. And having done all, to stand. Yeah, this is one that Paul stole from the master. This is one that Paul stole from the master. He said, take up all the powers of divinity. And in the evil day, stand. And having done everything, stand. So what the master said, and Paul stole it from him, was, listen, the day of evil will come. And when you've got to the end of your abilities, you're going to have to call upon the abilities of deity. And when that day of evil comes, you've got to stand your ground. You've got to do all you can do. You've got to come to the end of yourself. Then when you call on divinity or deity, then you will stand in their power. We have to realize that we have to do everything we can, and then we have to realize that in this life, we need a little help from our friends. Now, only then will divinity, only then will the fairy godmother appear to carry our analogy forward to help you. And I'll go back to the chat room when I get through this. So the formula is that you recognizing your lack, you working as hard as you can, you working to the point of exhaustion of your own power, you invoking the help of divinity and divinity giving it to you, you finding the partner to support you along your way, that is what equals happily ever after. And happily ever after can be realized today. I'm living it today. But there's also some cautions once you get into happily ever after. You notice that it said, and they lived happily ever after. Once you find your Prince Charming, once you find your princess, you still have to live. And the temptation is that once you find each other, especially if it's a twin flame situation, you just want to hunker down and just love each other up. You just want to love each other up. And I'm a lover by nature anyway. So with Sandra, it was tough. I just wanted to kiss her and hug her and hold her and run my fingers through her hair and rub her cheek. And I just wanted to be with her all the time. But she helped me by saying, look, I love you too, but we still got life to live. So living happily ever after means you still got to live. You still got to do what you got to do. You still got to be where you got to be. You still got to go where you got to go. And you have to keep on being the person that brought you to happily ever after. You have to keep on being the being that brought you to happily ever after. So you got to keep living. They lived happily ever after. They didn't just go into the castle and stay there the rest of their lives. They lived happily ever after. And that's kind of my lesson. And it's helped me to realize, yeah, you got to live happily ever after. You got to be a separate person. There's still got, even in, and listen to this, even in happily ever after, there must be independence. There must be independence in happily ever after. In happily ever after, it takes two people with their own lives that have chosen to combine them towards a greater and higher good. So Sandra has to keep the Sandra D. Angelo channel going strong. Sandra, has to keep working her sobriety. She has to keep doing her meditation. She has to keep doing her writing. She has to keep going to her part-time job. She has to keep spending, girls' day out with her daughter. That's where she is today. Because you got to keep living. You got to keep living. To be in happily ever after, you got to live happily ever after. And that means living, being a complete and total human being, being what brought you, being the being that brought you into the place that happily ever after was within your grasp, and you realized it. And our life has been together these past, let's just say a year. It's been one series of miraculous synchronicities, miraculous actions. It has been a great time of divine intervention in our lives. And I mean, if you ever wonder if there's really divinity out there that has an interest in humanity, let me tell you, there are, because we have had tremendous blessings from a lot of different divinities. Lord Shiva, Hecate, Danu, the Tuatha De Danann, the gods of the north, the gods of the east, the gods of the south, the gods of the west. We've had divine intervention. So I do want to give admiration and recognition, even though it's not necessary, to those deities. But think of the word heart, H-E-A-R-T. And I just thought about this as I turned it on. Happily H, ever E, after A, can be realized R, today T. Happily ever after, realized today. I'm living proof. Sandra's living proof. Miracle after miracle, powerful occasion after powerful occasion, getting better and better. But it followed a lot of hard work. It followed a lot of shadow work. It followed a lot of dark nights of the soul, a lot of pain, a lot of tears. And here we are. It's repeatable, it's duplicatable if you got the guts. It's the only way it's going to happen. Let me go into the chat room and answer any questions. I have my happily ever after. I just want everyone else on board. Did you get my email about the bracelet? I did. Jeff, you seem more happy, level, and serene. Thank you very much. Met my partner in our 30s. If we met before then, it would not have worked out. We're both too immature. And, you know, I'm a guy that's fighting the desire. And I'm the guy that's fighting the desire to, the temptation to go back and say, boy, I wish that Sandra and I could have met 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I wish we could have met 5 years ago, 2 years ago. But like I said yesterday in I think it was in one of the morning mantras, if you're happy with where you are, and I've never been happier in my life. I'm blissfully happy. I'm in happily ever after. So that means that I have to embrace the past, because everything that happened, the way it happened, led me and Sandra to this place today. And if anything had been different, we wouldn't be here today. So things that I wish sooner, I wish better. No, it had to be the way it is for today to be the way it is. So if you are in happily ever after, embrace the past and then forget it. Embrace the past and forget it. Don't beat up your partner for the past. Don't beat up yourself for the past. Embrace the past, and doing meditation, just let it go by. Look for the lessons and apply them, but let it go by. Powerful stuff. Let it go by. Is it a total? It should be a total overhaul. It was in my experience. Self-realization can be ugly. Smile at your partner every time you enter a room and make contact, connect constantly. I do that all the time. But I'm a lover. Sandra is very, very affectionate, but she's different than me. And you have to, and guess what? I need to say this. Just because you're with your prince or with your princess in the castle doesn't mean that everything's going to be, doesn't mean that the little birdie is going to be tweeting 24/7. It doesn't mean the little bunnies are going to be hopping by and singing with you 24/7. It doesn't mean that you're going to have a bluebird on your shoulder. It doesn't mean that, you know, the deer is going to come and eat out of your hand every day, because guess what? You're still living happily ever after. And sometimes the prince might do something that upsets the princess. Sometimes the princess might do something that upsets the prince. And sometimes the prince and the princess, even though they know it's happily ever after, they might find themselves on opposite sides of a discussion, because you're living happily ever after. So you'll learn about learning about people. This person's perfect for me. Sandra's perfect for me. But there's some things about Sandra that I've got to learn to accept and understand and not get spun out about. I'm perfect for Sandra, but there's some things about me that she's got to learn about and accept and not get spun out about. And the good news is that if it really is happily ever after, each person will be saying, yeah, I can do better here. I can do better there. Because in happily ever after, the prince is always saying, what can I do to enrich the princess's life? And the princess is always saying, what can I do to enhance the prince's life? That's why it works. But there will be some disagreements in the castle. And if you do them right, and you can't do disagreement right, they become building blocks instead of wrecking balls for your relationship. And yeah, there's that. Sandra, yes, very great. Sandra, it's hard changing habit. And she did. 3 years sober on the 5th. Big congratulations to Sandra. Respect and love. I probably respect her more than I love her, and I love her more than I can even describe. Big congratulations, absolutely. Huge props to sobriety. Absolutely. And I don't drink a drop. Quit drinking about 2.5 years ago. Interesting, huh? Congratulations to Sandra. It is time for her to reap the reward. She has done an excellent job of making her work simple to grasp and use. Sandra's videos are great. Her videos are the best. Life should be a beautifully challenging program of ego reduction, and that's what it is. It is. It really is at the end of the day. I told you how you can donate to Sandra. This is the trick to dating. Of course you have. Jeff, you have led to deeper thinking on higher self. Thank you. I like the man who confessed, I'm not much, but I'm all I think about. Isn't that true? Isn't that true? This is great stuff. Stepmother also has her divinity. Yeah. Sometimes, though, if it's a narcissist, a psychopath, or a sociopath, maybe not. I feel maybe one is at their point of desperation. The needed help will come. Absolutely. 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 The universe has a plan for you. Don't give up on yourself. You never know what the next breath will bring. Absolutely. Thank you. Divinity says, you're a blessing. I'm here because I am craving. I'm a recovering addict. Please contact Sandra D. Angelo's channel. She'll be glad. She won't counsel your addiction, but she will counsel your recovery. The little moments shared together are divine, and we've had, I almost brought tears to my eyes. Beautiful stuff. Just Katha just successfully donated to Sandra D. Thank you, Katha. That's beautiful. I appreciate that so much. Jeff is connected. Thank you. The offense vid the other morning blew me away. It's the message I needed at the moment. Thank you, Julia. People thank me when I go through the line in the store. That's interesting. Perfect, divinities. Happily ever after is real. I've given you a workable plan to follow to have a fairy tale life. H-E-A-R-T, heart. Happily ever after can be realized today. Heart. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. This is the new Cosmic Knowledge channel. And what kind of cosmic knowledge do we need other than how to live a happily ever after life? Thank you, Katha. Ask questions, question answers. Remember, you're divine, you're sovereign, you're free. Do you have the guts to go for happily ever after? Are you ready to live it? I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, encouraging you to go for it and to unindoctrinate yourself.